So, how many of you are planning to take a trip this summer to even hope to go to a new country or a new place or somewhere you've never been? So, one of my favorite things to do is to explore cultures and meet new people and just new ways of doing things. And so, some of you don't know that I've lived in different countries, and it's probably one of the greatest lessons that I've learned is by going and living in other places. And so I was asked to share a little bit about how to prepare, communication wise, to be prepared to speak when you're living in another country or you're visiting another country, some things. So I'm going to just share like three quick tips to help prepare you to visit or live in another country. So one would be obvious to try to learn the language. And there's a quote that, when you speak language, they know they understand you with their head, but when you speak to them in their native language, they understand you with their heart. And even when I'm not in another country, if I run into someone that is Japanese, especially, it gives me an opportunity to practice, I will speak to them in Japanese. It's just try to learn the language of where you're going to be even if you don't have a full, obviously you're not fully fluent, but try to learn at least some basic greetings, some basic things, begin to start studying. There's so many apps now that you can learn a language. So definitely start listening and start learning about the language and just some basic things to help you initially when you get there because don't want to assume that everyone speaks English. Yes, there are many countries where they do speak English, but like when I was in Japan, not a lot of people spoke English. And I was using Japanese most of the day. So it was a good thing that I had been learning it in school for 3 years before I was exchange student. And so I was became pretty fluent at that time. So definitely learn the language. And two, there's certain things that are not said. They're just cultural norms and ways of doing things that you should be aware of. And so try to learn some of the nonverbal cues and nonverbal uh, norms of where you're going. So, like in Asia and most places, you don't wear shoes in the house. And I still do that even to this day. But, those are certain things that you would know. No one would tell you take off your shoes. They would just like look at you, but no one is going to say you need to do this. But I mean, I knew that because I have friends of many different cultures, so I already knew things like that. But those are little things, or there are certain gestures, certain things that may be just regular common gestures. Like even the peace sign has different meanings depending on where you are or how we greet one another. When I was in Italy, you have due baci, which is two kisses on the cheek to everyone you meet, strangers, everyone. And so that's something you should be aware of and know before you go that that's a common thing. So just little things like that. In Japan, you bow, but there's different levels of bowing. If you bow very low, that is showing honor and respect to that person. I had two students that did that once to me, and I was like, very, very respectful and honoring of your position. And so that's something to know. And so just be aware and try to learn about the cultural norms. And lastly, just try not to assume that things are going to be like it is in your country because it probably isn't. There's very different ways of doing things. And so, you don't get upset when things don't flow or do the same way. It may be better. It's good to learn new ways of doing things. So, those will be three basic tips that I would start with to begin to learn. But then you can also, there's many more. And if this is something that you would like to for me to talk more about. I mean, I taught an intercultural communication course for many years at the university, and this is a topic that I train on for different companies as far as within their company having more intercultural communication competence. So, but if this is something you would like me to talk about, if there's other communication issues or things that you would like me to talk about, please let me know. And I will also try to think of other videos to do. So, hope that's helpful and happy travels. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.